The 2026 Eagles offseason. Ticking time bombs and franchise ultimatums.
Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Look, right now we are looking at a Philadelphia Eagles franchise that is standing on the absolute razor's edge. This isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill offseason. It's a ticking clock. We are staring down a massive, franchise-altering crossroads where literally every single decision carries the weight of either a dynasty realized or a foundation completely shattered. So let me ask you a question, and I want you to really think about it. Could the Eagles actually trade Jalen Hurts? Could they actually trade their franchise quarterback? Take a long moment to let that sink in. Because in the harsh, unforgiving business of the NFL, whispers turn into rumors, and rumors turn into reports fast. And we aren't just talking about fan speculation on social media here. We are talking about the sterile, quiet hallways of the NovaCare complex. Reports have actually surfaced that some folks in Jalen Hurts' own inner circle felt he could have been dealt after last season. There are active, vibrating whispers in elite NFL circles right now that if he doesn't perform under this completely restructured regime, he could be gone. It is a shocking, almost unthinkable level of doubt surrounding a guy who is the absolute heartbeat of this city.
I mean, listen to this quote from the front office. The idea he could have been traded is insane. And honestly, that quote perfectly captures the absolute absurdity of the rumor mill right now. We are talking about a player who has won at an elite clip his entire career. Think about what he's done. This is a quarterback who literally strapped this franchise to his back, marched them through a gauntlet of playoff heavyweights, and delivered them to multiple Super Bowls. A player who secured a Super Bowl MVP through sheer force of will, making throws into impossible windows while dodging free rushers left and right. And yet, the speculation became entirely reckless. People outside the building wanted to pin the organizational collapses, the defensive implosions, and the coaching missteps entirely on the guy who just kept winning despite the utter chaos surrounding him. He was the anchor in the storm. But, before we can look at the summit of this franchise and the quarterback position, we actually have to step back. We have to look at the brutal reality at the absolute bottom of the roster.
Let's shift gears for a second. The spring minicamps, they are a beautiful mirage. They're a fun way to throw on the pads, connect with teammates under the warm sun, and learn the playbook without the shadow of the Grim Reaper looming overhead. But make no mistake, that shadow is coming. August 26th. That is the brutal reality. That is the massive roster crunch where dozens of players are going to see their lifelong NFL dreams come to a screeching, violent halt. Almost a third of the players currently on the Eagles' 90-man roster will not be wearing midnight green when September rolls around. They won't even make the practice squad. They are going to experience that dreaded tap on the shoulder in the locker room. You know the one. That silent, agonizing walk down the hall to General Manager Howie Roseman's office. It's the sudden end of a journey they've sacrificed their bodies for since childhood. And Roseman is already evaluating who might need to be released early, just to give them a desperate, fighting chance somewhere else before the market is completely flooded.
Right now, 3 specific men are standing squarely on the trapdoor. Let's methodically break down exactly why, because the micro details here are absolutely staggering. First up, cornerback Ja'Cory Bennett. He was a speedy Day 3 pick in the 2023 draft, and look, he actually looked highly promising during his first 2 years under Antonio Pierce. But then, Pete Carroll took over as head coach in Seattle. Carroll demanded entirely different, rigid measurables for his outside corners, and just like that, Bennett was firmly placed on the trading block. The Eagles acquired him, giving up depth tackle Thomas Booker, hoping Bennett could fill a massive void when Khalil Ringo fell completely out of favor. But what's the reality, Ben? Bennett logged a mere 98 defensive snaps over 11 agonizing games. Guys, in a grueling, violently physical 17-game season, 98 snaps is practically invisible. You're barely on the field. And now with Howie Roseman aggressively bringing in massive additions like Rick Woolen and Jonathan Jones, Bennett's fleeting moment has totally evaporated. If they can't manage to get a 7th-round pick for him in a trade, his locker will be empty very soon. Next, let's look at tight end Stone Smart. When the Eagles signed him, it looked like a desperate tight end by committee approach. Dallas Goedert was an unrestricted free agent at the time. So the Eagles front office panicked. They stockpiled every piece they could get their hands on. They added Smart, they drafted Grant Kelchera, they brought in blocking specialist Johnny Munt, and even had E.J. Jenkins fighting for reps. It was a crowded, chaotic room full of anxiety. But then, the dust settled. The Eagles secured starting caliber talent. Goedert is back on a new deal, and they added dynamic playmaker Eli Stowers. Suddenly, Goedert and Stowers are taking the absolute brunt of the offensive snaps. Munt has the inside track as the pure inline blocker. So where does that leave Smart? He is entirely eclipsed. He's buried so deep at the bottom of a depth chart he was supposed to help lead that he might not even see the field in the preseason finale. Finally, we have to talk about the most tragic case in the building, running back Elijah Mitchell. He was signed on June 2nd. He hasn't even been in the building a month. The Eagles are his 4th team in just 2 brutal years. San Francisco, Kansas City, New England, now Philly. And in that time, 0 regular season snaps. 0. At one point in his life, Mitchell was an absolute force, right? He was a dynamic rookie starter, running roughshod over defenses in Kyle Shanahan's vaunted offense. He had elite vision, he had breakaway speed, but his body has completely betrayed him. Injury after devastating injury has decimated his promising career, robbing him of his absolute prime. He is barely hanging on by a thread right now, and with younger, healthier players like Dameon Pierce heavily in the mix for the 53-man roster, Mitchell is rapidly running out of NFL lifelines.
So the absolutely crucial point we have to understand is this. These roster casualties we just talked about, they are not just random unlucky bounces. They are the direct, unavoidable consequence of a massive fundamental shift in command. Enter new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. The entire nervous system of this franchise is being completely reprogrammed from the ground up. Mannion brings a philosophy that demands absolute, unwavering precision. The personnel must fit his vision perfectly. If you don't fit Sean Mannion's specific, rigid requirements, if you don't possess the exact route-running discipline, the precise blocking footwork, or the mental processing speed he demands, you are out. It's that simple. Players who were drafted under the previous looser regime are finding themselves entirely obsolete. The margin for error is gone, literally 0.
And this represents a stark, undeniable contrast in philosophy. For years, Jalen Hurts has miraculously survived a destructive, chaotic coordinator carousel. I mean, think about it. This franchise put their superstar quarterback through a relentless, blinding tornado of first-time play callers who completely lacked the proper support structure. They were essentially experimenting on the fly with a franchise window, and every time they did that, the offense collapsed under the weight of its own confusion. But that tornado has finally passed. In its place is Sean Mannion's blueprint. It is coherent, it is fiercely structured, it features a heavy, punishing reliance on the run game to bludgeon defensive fronts, which sets up a devastating use of play-action passing. Mannion is finally laying down a system of brutal efficiency that doesn't ask Jalen Hurts to be a superhero in every single down. It operates within a tightly controlled structure that actually maximizes his elite processing and athletic traits.
But look, it's not just the veterans feeling the scorching heat of this new regime. Welcome to the rookie reality. The culture at Nick Sirianni's camp is incredibly, overwhelmingly demanding. It's an absolute pressure cooker. Imagine being a rookie. You have to learn a dictionary-sized playbook overnight. You have to learn the tendencies of your veteran teammates who are glaring at you, judging every false step, because, hey, their jobs are on the line too. And above all, you have to learn to survive the unforgiving city of Philadelphia, the intense media scrutiny, the screaming fans at training camp who demand perfection from day one. Let's look closely at the new number 9 USC product, Mekhi Lemon. He is out there catching passes from Jalen Hurts this spring, trying desperately to prove his worth in this high-stakes, zero-tolerance environment.
But, even in all this suffocating tension, there are moments that just highlight the sheer, jarring culture shock of arriving in Philly. Nick Sirianni, who is a true blue Pennsylvanian Italian with a world-famous family meatball recipe, couldn't wait to tell defensive mastermind Vic Fangio about Mekhi Lemon's recent culinary misadventure. Sirianni recalled, laughing, he had the lobster, he had the pasta, he had the gnocchi. He was cracking up at how the rookie completely mispronounced one of Italy's most famous dumplings at a local blue-collar saloon. Think about it. Lemon went to school in Los Angeles. He was surrounded by the refined, Michelin star food culture near USC. But navigating the aggressive, distinct, unapologetic flavor of Philadelphia, that is a totally different ballgame. It's a moment of levity, sure, but it brilliantly illustrates how incredibly fast these rookies have to adapt. It is a perfect metaphor for the transition they face, going from the flashy, open spaces of college football to the gritty, physical, blue-collar style of football they are now forced to play to survive in this city.
Okay, now we need to zoom out. We need to look at the big picture. Because while the Eagles are meticulously handling their internal business, pruning the roster down to the bone, and teaching rookies how to survive the local culture, a massive, franchise-altering power struggle is erupting across the entire National Football League. This is an arms race of unprecedented proportions, and the collateral damage from this, it could be absolutely devastating.
This right here is one of the most bizarre, league-altering sagas in recent NFL history, and honestly, it reads like a true crime timeline. The subject, All-Pro pass rusher Max Crosby. Step 1, early offseason. He is suddenly, shockingly traded to the Baltimore Ravens. The entire league shakes. It is a seismic shift in power that threatens to completely disrupt the AFC hierarchy. Step 2, mid-offseason. The Ravens inexplicably shut down the massive deal over alleged concerns with his knee physical. I mean, what? It becomes a massive lingering mystery. What exactly did the doctors see? Step 3. Present day. The trade is voided and he is returned to the Las Vegas Raiders. He didn't want to be traded in the first place, so he happily returned to the desert. But here's the crazy part. Raiders insider Hondo Carpenter, who originally broke the incredibly unpopular news of Crosby being on the trading block, had warned everyone. Fans vehemently mocked him, they got irrationally mad, they literally sent threats to him for daring to suggest their star player was available. And then, the Baltimore trade actually happened. Now, Carpenter says the saga is far from over.
And this is exactly where the tectonic plates of the NFL collide. Carpenter reports that two heavy-hitting teams are nuclear hot for Max Crosby, the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers just acquired Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett. I mean, their division was already a brutal bloodbath with Seattle, and now San Francisco has essentially assembled a defensive Death Star, dropping a nuclear weapon onto an already terrifying defensive line. Meanwhile, Howie Roseman and the Eagles are pacing the war room. They tried to trade for Myles Garrett. They threw their chips on the table, and they failed. They missed out on the ultimate prize. So now, they are absolutely desperate to execute a counterstrike. They know they cannot let San Francisco monopolize all the elite pass-rushing talent. The Eagles are waiting in the shadows, watching the Raiders closely. If Las Vegas stumbles out of the gate with their new coaching staff, you better believe Philadelphia is waiting to strike.
But guys, all of this, the painful roster cuts, the brand new coordinators, the blockbuster trade rumors, it all pales in comparison to the most critical, terrifying ticking clock inside the building. The number 2. Jalen Hurts only has 2 years left on his contract, but it is so much worse than that. The Eagles front office actually holds a hard out in his contract after next season. They hold the trigger, and right now, they have not budged on an extension. They are letting this drag out day by excruciating day. Every single day that passes without a new contract is a deafening message of doubt. They are creating a massive, suffocating shadow of uncertainty over the single most important position in all of sports.
Let's be absolutely definitive here, because the facts are just staring us in the face. Jalen Hurts possesses an elite winning clip and is Super Bowl MVP. He single-handedly overcame a destructive, chaotic coordinator turnover that would have completely ruined a lesser player. And let's be real. Unless this organization plans to tank the season for a top 10 draft pick, absolutely no viable quarterback alternative exists anywhere on the open market right now. None. And finally, he is the perfect, tailor-made fit for Sean Mannion's new structured play-action system. The resume speaks for itself. It is undeniable. To let this player walk away over contract hesitations would be absolute organizational malpractice. This franchise cannot afford another self-inflicted wound. They must pay the man, build the fortress around him, and let Sean Mannion cook.
So it all comes down to this lingering, dangerous question. The clock is relentlessly ticking on the bottom of the roster, the new coaching staff, the league-wide arms race, and the franchise quarterback himself. Will the Eagles secure their future, or are they going to let the foundation crumble entirely? Welcome to NFL Nexus. Subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, comment on what you thought, and support the channel by becoming a channel member.